Yes, hello and welcome everybody. It's Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, and I'm back again today with another one of my video presentation Who Do You More What's It's. And as you can see on the screen there, in this video today, it's my intention to introduce you folks to the Shi'ar Empire. Yes, that's right, the Shi'ar Empire. These are the newest affiliation to join the catalogue of affiliations in the game of Dice Masters. The Dark Phoenix Saga set is coming down the pipeline, or coming down the pipeline for North America at least. It's slated for a November release over there. It's available for pre-order on Wizkids' own shop, and is probably now cropping up for pre-order in many, many other places as well. So check out your local game store and see what they've got going on, folks. And that's where this affiliation is getting introduced. And I've been very lucky to be gifted some cards from Wizkids that are examples of some of the Shi'ar characters that are going to be included in the set. And I wanted to take a few moments really just to kind of talk about why they're in this set, how they're connected to the X-Men, why they're relevant, why would it be a new affiliation to be included in the Dark Phoenix Saga set. Within reason, I'm going to introduce you to some of the cards, introduce you to some of the characters, and sprinkle a little bit of lore in there, hopefully, time willing. I don't want this video to go on too long. So that's the plan, that's the intention here with this video. Before I get into that though, just very quickly, I know I'm at risk of sounding inauthentic because I say it all the time, but please believe me, you folks really are the best audience in the world. And my sincerest thanks, my absolute sincerest thanks to all of you who have taken the time to subscribe to the channel, who've taken the time to give me a like when you've enjoyed the content, the comments, the emails, the instant messages on Facebook, the instant messages on Discord. I just love getting into these conversations with you guys. I love that my videos and the podcast and the blog are generating kind of thoughts and ideas, and you're sharing them with me. Please do keep it up. I do my best to get back to everyone. I know I'm not replying to all emails in a timely fashion right now, but I will do. I promise you I'll get back to you. But thank you so very much. I mean it. You really are the best audience in the world and part of the best community, certainly the best gaming community I've ever belonged to. And, if you're not already subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a great deal. And if you have enjoyed what you've watched today or any of my other videos, please take the time to give it a thumbs up and a like. And yeah, drop us a comment, send me an email. I just love hearing from you folks. So yeah, all right, there you go. There's the soppy bit done. But please, please believe me, I am so eternally grateful. You're awesome. I love it. Right, okay, there you go. There's the soppy bit done. Let's actually move on and talk about the Shi'ar Empire then. So, the Shi'ar Empire, in terms of comic book lore, are intrinsically linked to the X-Men intellectual property. That's where they first came into the Marvel universe of the comic books, and they've been very deeply entwined in X-Men storylines. They're an invention of Chris Claremont's. Chris Claremont started sort of drip feeding hints about the Shi'ar Empire in around issue 97, 96 of the X-Men during the sort of mid-ish to late 70s. We really first properly engaged with them around issue 105. And as you can see here, I mean, getting straight to the point, they are very heavily involved in the Jean Grey Phoenix to Dark Phoenix storyline, and Jean Grey's journey from the good Phoenix that you can see there on the cover of issue 105 in the green and yellow gear with the scarf around the waist and stuff, to a journey to becoming the Dark Phoenix. And they are, for some intents and purposes, a big driving force behind the exposition and understanding as to what the Dark Phoenix is and what this cosmic entity is all about. So yeah, it's around this period, which many consider a very, literally like the pinnacle golden era of X-Men writing from Chris Claremont here. And the first Shi'ar Empire member that we encounter and really get to know in the X-Men comic books is Lilandra. Here's a couple of Lilandra cards from the upcoming set. Just incidentally, as a kind of side note, the Shi'ar Empire and the Shi'ar are kind of two different things. The Shi'ar are the sort of elite ruling class from the central home planet of the Shi'ar Empire, but then the Empire itself, named after this ruling class, is actually made up of lots of different races and planets across the Empire. And where they sort of sit geographically in the Marvel universe is, they're neighbours of the Kree and Skrull Empire, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But here we go. Here's a couple of of examples of Lilandra. She has a complicated storyline, really. She is romantically involved with Charles Xavier for a period of time. She has spent a period of time, she's a part of the royal family and spent a period of time as the Empress of the Imperium, and some of the storylines are very much driven by those kind of political machinations with her brother and sister, who I'll talk about in a moment. So her subtitles here, you've got politician, you've got Grand Admiral of the Guard, sort of acknowledge that position in the as part of the ruling class, as part of the royal family that takes charge of the Shi'ar Empire. But these are two really interesting cards because they're like at polar opposites in terms of purchase cost and game text value. The first one there, Politician, is a 3-cost shield, and she's got a global that we've seen before actually. Is pay a shield once per turn. If you have purchased a character die this turn, you may draw a die from your bag and add it to your prep area. And she's got some pretty decent stats for a 3-cost there as well. She's 133, 135, and 156. Somewhat in acknowledgement, I think, of the increased strength and abilities of the Shi'ar Empire compared to human beings. And that global, we've seen it before on Robin, team leader from the Teen Titans Organized Play Kit, which incidentally I recently did a video about, if you want to go check that one out as well. If I've got the Ken, I'll pop a link to it in the top corner, but finish watching this one first. But I think that's clearly there's something about kind of acknowledging the team leadership role, just the same way as Robin, that that global's about recruiting and organising your team and getting them involved. So you've got the Lilandra Politician there with a utility global at a low purchase cost, but who might be useful for the stats. But then on the other end of the scale, you've got the 6-cost Lilandra, Grand Admiral of the Guard, who reads, while Lilandra is active, if one of your character dice attacks and is unblocked, re-roll them after damage is dealt. If they land on a character face, place them in your prep area instead of your used pile. So, wow, that a really interesting game text there. You're going to have to reach for it at a 6-cost, but a super useful game text to solve that challenge of unblockable dice disappearing into your used pile and you having to construct your team to churn them back around to get them back in the field and re-attacking. So if you're willing to face the challenge of getting up to that 6-cost and getting Lilandra in the field, cool stuff like your Awakened Ant-Men and your Drow Mercenaries that will go through for a really nice unblockable attack and then disappear for turns, you've got Lilandra sitting in waiting to help you out. And again, this is kind of thematic to acknowledge her sort of leadership role here. She is in charge of the Shi'ar Empire's Imperial Guard, where we've got an Imperial Guard character we'll have a look at in a moment, and how she kind of corrals and manages and team leads that Imperial Guard, So, yeah, two really interesting cards. I love that artwork. That's Frank Quitely artwork there, from one of the runs that I've read, actually, the new X-Men, which was written by Grant Morrison in the early 2000s. Regular viewers of my videos and listeners of the podcast will know that I'm a big fan of Frank Quitely's artwork, but, just yet another example of stunning artwork, and I can't wait to see the foil version of this card, all that kind of Shi'ar hieroglyphic iconography behind us is going to look really amazing in foil, I think. So, yeah, there we go. There we go. There's Lilandra. Now, I mentioned that she's part of the royal family and that there's kind of some complicated sort of royal family, palace intrigue, machination stuff that has driven storylines around the Shi'ar Empire through the years. And her brother and sister are key players in that. Her brother's Deathbird and her sister is Deathbird, and both of these individuals have made villainous plays to head the Empire in their pursuit of power and influence. Deathbird especially was the emperor of the Shi'ar Imperium at the point at which we met the Shi'ar Empire. So Lilandra was exiled and on the run from her brother because he didn't want her to make moves for the throne to overthrow him, and so she went on the run. And because she's a telekinetic, she made a telekinetic connection with Professor X and came to Earth with the intention of recruiting the X-Men to support her, taking the Empire back from the the nefarious grip of D'Ken and to make it a much more lovely, honest and nice empire to be a part of, or certainly as honest and nice as an empire can be. So there's D'Ken, her brother, and then Deathbird, equally, she gets exiled and imprisoned in later storylines and also makes power plays to take over the throne. She's heavily involved with some of the Vulcan storylines, and she's currently, she's appeared in some very recent issues of the New Mutants in the new Jonathan Hickman kind of reboot of the X-Men. Again, very prevalent characters. They've come back around many, many times in X-Men storylines, like I say, Deathbird just recently. So let's have a look at D'Ken. His subtitle's Obsessed, which I think is a very appropriate subtitle for this because he's obsessed. It's the pursuit of power, and that's his power and influence is all he's interested in. He's a four-cost villain and Shi'ar, so he's double affiliation there. His game text reads, while D'Ken is active, if you take combat damage, you may use an action die from either player's used pile. And his stats are 044, 155 and 266, which is kind of pretty impressive stats, or fairly decent stats for a four-cost there. Love the game text, nice and thematic. It's all about kind of, like I said before, Machiavellian political maneuvers and palace intrigue, and the fact that he's cunning and snidey and doing these little behind closed doors maneuvers and manipulating and influencing to get his way. So I really that's the game text speaks to me in that respect. Deathbird, a little bit more straightforward in this example. I'm hoping the uncommon and rare might give some juicier game text, but she's a 2-cost shield. She's also a villain in Shi'ar. She's treacherous in the subtitle there, and she just simply has deadly. She's deadly, and that's in acknowledgement of the fact that she's kind of a bit of a ninja warrior character, and a bit of an assassin. She likes to take her enemies out with nasty little assassination moves. Her stats are interesting. She's 011, 012 and 134, so quite juicy on the level 3 there for a 2-cost, but not so hot in level 1 and level 2. Also of note, really interestingly, she's max 2 die. I've got no explanation as to why that might be, but there you go, she's max 2 die. So there we are. That's Lilandra's brother and sister, and big players in storylines and narratives that surround the Shi'ar Empire. And as I say, that kind of the royal family. I was going to say soapy stuff, but it's not really soapy stuff. It's kind of Shakespearean in a way, So, yeah, there we are. Moving on, that's who we got next. We've got Gladiator. So I mentioned the Imperial Guard. Gladiator is the leader of the Imperial Guard, a warrior who is part of the elite and kind of soldier force of the royal family of the Shi'ar Empire. And so, he's beefy, he's powerful, he's muscly, he's brute force, and both his cards very much reflect that, particularly in the stats there. So we've got the Gladiator, the Empire Must Stand. It's a 6-cost fist, the Shi'ar Empire affiliation. He's got Overcrush, but he also reads, when Lilandra is KO'd, put a loyalty counter on Gladiator's card. And the kind of explanation text there says, loyalty counters give a character die +1/+1 attack. When talking to Wizkids, they wanted me to make it very clear in all communication about loyalty counters that they are not experience tokens. They count, they're considered separately. And he has a global there. Pay a fist when you attack. Your character dice can't be target of action dice or global abilities until the end of the turn. A return of the old Doom Caliber Knight global, which is a controversial global to come back to the game. I'm sure many of you can immediately make the connection as to why that's such a powerful global in a world of static fields and wallops and Kang globals and stuff. The fact that he's got Overcrush, clearly very thematic because he's a brute force character. I like the kind of connection to the Lilandra card there, his queen, and his loyalty to the queen, and the fact that if she's injured or killed, that he comes back raging, angrier, looking for revenge, looking to take retribution for it. So that's really kind of appropriate for the card. Look at his stats, guys. 055, 166, 077. 0 fielding cost on level 3 for a 7/7 character. Although, incidentally, what is this level 2 1 fielding cost thing that's been going on? The Black Dwarf was like that in Infinity Gauntlet as well. Anyway, I digress. We then got the 4-cost Magister Kalark. He just comes with the global and those stats, which, pretty impressive. If you just want the global for a bit of utility and a plan B piece of meat to put in the field if you're in a tricky spot, then this rare Gladiator is the one for you. Gives you the global and gives you those stats. So yeah, there you go. Gladiator, head of the Imperial Guard, and again, very, very deeply involved in many of the storylines and narratives that surround the Shi'ar Empire in both the X-Men and the wider Marvel comic books. Yeah. Right, who's next on the list? My memory's gone blank. I've forgotten where I'm going next. Right, the Dark Phoenix, enemy of the Shi'ar. So let's just explain that connection. You might have noticed before I mentioned about the fact that the Shi'ar Empire came as part of the Chris Claremont era. The Shi'ar Empire are very heavily involved in the Dark Phoenix storyline, and in fact, Jean Grey's the kind of the final note on her movement from the good and honest Jean Grey that we know to the evil, kind of all-consumed Dark Phoenix, comes at a point in the Dark Phoenix Saga where Jean Grey kind of snaps. She goes all in on Dark Phoenix-ness. She shoots out into space, and she goes into Shi'ar space and goes to a planet and consumes the entire planet. The Phoenix Force just takes her over, and she devours a whole planet that's part of the Shi'ar Empire. And the Shi'ar Empire, they have some experience with the cosmic entity of the Phoenix Force. In fact, one of the early Dark Phoenix incarnations was a Shi'ar royal family member. Might not have been a royal family member. I don't. Someone might have to correct me on that. I've suddenly gone a bit hazy on that little bit of the law, but there's definitely, so they've experienced the cosmic entity. They come to the X-Men and kind of give them some exposition and help them understand what's going on there. They also capture the X-Men. They take Jean Grey with the intent of killing her, just killing her dead, for the greater good. Just kill her dead. The Dark Phoenix is too powerful. And there's a whole kind of storyline there where they get into a kind of battle royale with the Imperial Guard attempting to kill Jean Grey. And if you want to know more about that, in fact, after you've watched the Teen Titans OP kit video that I mentioned earlier, you might want to go check out my Dark Phoenix Saga OP kit from back in the Uncanny X-Men days video, because I go into that storyline in much more detail. So that's their connection. That's why they appear in the Dark Phoenix Saga set specifically, despite the fact that they're already very heavily connected to the X-Men comic book line. And that is why this Dark Phoenix subtitle specifically says Enemy of the Shi'ar. She's a six-cost bolt. She's got the villain affiliation. And she calls out in a game text the Shi'ar. She says, when fielded, KO target Shi'ar or X-Men character die. When Dark Phoenix attacks, deal 2 damage to your opponent. And then she's got the global here, which is a reprint of the old Blue Eyes White Dragon global that says pay a bolt and KO one of your character dice. The next die you purchase this turn costs 2 less, to a minimum of 1. So yeah, really, just overall, all round, a potentially very useful card. Certainly as an uncommon, if you pull it in a Dark Phoenix Saga draft, you're in a good position. Well, I say good position, the 6 cost is a bit of a stretch, but there's a high probability of you facing teams that have got Shi'ar or X-Men character dice on the other side of the table to be KOing, and she's just a one card win condition with the attack and ping element to her there. She's pretty expensive in terms of her fielding costs, 155, 277, 388. So you're paying a lot for getting her out in the field, but it may be a price worth paying, or you can find ways to manipulate that with Sasha Banks's or Yawning Portals to get her out for free. But she's a one card win condition, so super powerful in draft, and of course she comes with built-in ramp with the immense utility of that global. I just love the fact that it KOs, and I love the fact that it gives a discount. But yeah, she's clearly she's called the enemy of the Shi'ar and involved in this because of the Phoenix Force's relationship to the Shi'ar Empire. The fact that in their ancestry, one of their descendants was a Dark Phoenix host in their history, and the fact that they kind of came and gave that additional exposition and tried to kill her, put an end to it. Yeah, so there we are, Dark Phoenix, enemy of the Shi'ar. Moving on then, Vulcan, 4-cost fist, ruler of the Imperium. This example we've got here is the common, and he's got a global, pay a fist, target character die must attack this turn, and his stats are 032, 144, and 165. Now, Vulcan, I'm already getting close to the 20 minutes I usually shoot for. I'm definitely going to run over on this video, but such a complicated comic book lore around this guy, but I'll just give you the key headlines. He is the brother of Scott Summers and Alex Summers, Cyclops and Havoc, respectively. Their father is a character called Corsair, who didn't die when Scott and Alex thought he did. He got kidnapped and taken into space, where he then became the captain of a kind of space pirate adventure type operation called the Starjammers. His wife did die, though, Scott and Alex's mother, and the Shi'ar Empire removed the baby Vulcan, Gabriel, from the womb and raised him as a slave. Yeah, I mean, and then, he's a mutant, so he's super powerful and stuff because, it's in the bloodline of the family, and he goes back later on and basically takes over the Shi'ar Empire. There's loads that happens in between there, but I just haven't got the time to go into it, but he goes back and takes over the Shi'ar Empire, hence the subtitle, Ruler of the Imperium. Not a great deal going on with the card here. The global is a popular utility global. It's a fist to create a force attack. Kind of useful at the moment right now because there's a lot of really great Black Widows, and Black Widow is one of the force attack characters, and there's a lot of great Doctor Stranges, and Doctor Strange is a force attack character. So there's kind of, if you're struggling, you want the maybe Black Widow agent as a piece of control on your team, or one of the new, like the spin down one or the overcrushing one. But you also want the force attack global for some control. Then Vulcan could be a slot for you there. Again, reasonable, decent stats for the purchase cost. Really interested to see what he's got going on in his uncommon and his rare when we finally see them. Just incidentally, the card art there, the image you can see Havoc just underneath the text box there in chains. That's from the cover of the Kingbreaker storyline. It's a 4-issue miniseries that kind of talks about, or is one of the parts to this ongoing story of Vulcan and his involvement with the Shi'ar Empire and becoming its leader. And again, just look at that planet in the background. That's going to look great in foil. I can't wait to see the foil version. There we go. There's Vulcan. Right, in the interest of time, I'm going to clip on a bit faster because what I've got now is Ronan the Accuser and Supreme Intelligence. Now, if you've seen some earlier spoilers, these two pictures were out and about. The game text were really blurry, though. This is the first time we've kind of seen the clear game text there. But you might ask yourself, why are these guys in the Dark Phoenix Saga set? And I believe, my conclusion is that these are in the Dark Phoenix Saga set because of their connection to the Shi'ar Empire and their connection to characters like Vulcan and Lilandra. The Kree have had a number of wars and rooks with the Shi'ar Empire. Vulcan, while he was the leader of the Shi'ar Empire, actually quite aggressively tried to annex Kree territory out in space, planets of theirs. So that's the reason. One observation here, neither of these are villains, which I think is really interesting. I think this is in some sort of tacit acknowledgement to the fact that even though they are villainous in nature, they are, the big noises in the Kree Empire, and they are rulers, and maybe it's something about their self-perception because they don't see themselves as villains, I don't know. I mean, I'm just hypothesizing there, really. So that is why they're relevant and why they're included in the sets. They're kind of indirectly X-Men related, but not quite specifically Dark Phoenix themey related. It's because of the Vulcan relationship, who is part of the wider, broader X-Men family as Scott Summers and Alex Summers, his brother. So we've got Ronan the Accuser here, subtitle Treason, 5-cost bolt, and Ronan reads, when Ronan the Accuser is fielded, lose 1 life. When Ronan the Accuser is KO'd, your opponent loses 1 life. And his stats are 155, 167, and 288. Then got the Supreme Intelligence, Merciless, a 12-cost mask. And the Supreme Intelligence reads, Supreme Intelligence costs 1 less to purchase for each loyalty counter on it. When you purchase Ronan the Accuser, or attack with Ronan the Accuser character die, put a loyalty counter on Supreme Intelligence's card. And it's the same Supreme Intelligence stats that we saw from the Kree Invasion team pack, 144, 256, and 276. So really interesting here. There's obviously a synergy between the Supreme Intelligence and Ronan the Accuser. I mean, Ronan the Accuser comes with a downside. You know, to field him, you lose a life, but to KO him, your opponent loses a life. So that I'm hoping, or something to keep an eye out for, or to be thinking about, is how you can kind of, you know, is that a price you're willing to pay in light of being able to get your Supreme Intelligence discounted? Now, remember that when the loyalty counters going on the Supreme Intelligence, it's increasing in attack and defense. So for every time you every time you purchase an attack with a Ronan the Accuser, you're giving it +1/+1 and discounting it. So you have the potential to have a really cheap but super buffed up character in the field. So is it a price worth paying? I don't, you know, I've not really thought through the strategy of building a team around that. But there's clearly designed to combo together, and there might just be something in it. I don't know. I mean, certainly once you've got him out in the field, you can just mercilessly attack your opponent. See what I did there? Merciless. Mercilessly attack your opponent, Ronan the Accuser, and just keep buffing up the Supreme Intelligence and making it cheaper until you're ready to just buy a ruck of them and get them out in the field. And the potential to make that Supreme Intelligence an enormous character is pretty high. Now, these again are only one example of what are at least 3, if not 4 cards of these, if they have super rares. So the uncommon Ronan Accuser and the rare Ronan Accuser could really have something juicy in there that we've not seen yet. Equally, the Supreme Intelligence, the uncommon and the common, might have other synergies with Ronan the Accuser that we've not seen that could be even more eye-catching. But I actually think there's something in that there. On the surface, you might you're a bit, I don't know, but I think there might be something in that there. But certainly a really interesting combo. Definitely want to play around with casually. Certainly want to keep an eye on in draft. I think that lose 1 life to field him might be worth paying if it's going to be the route to getting a 1-cost 2020 Supreme Intelligence. Is that right? +11, 7, no, 18, 17 Supreme Intelligence out in the field. I'm still not convinced by my maths there. Someone else do the maths and let me know in the comments below. But certainly that's why they're in the set. That's their connection to this whole kind of Shi'ar thing that's going on in the Dark Phoenix set, which then subsequently, as I explained before, is connected to the Dark Phoenix idea from their initial introduction by Chris Claremont in the X-Men titles in the 70s. And there we go, folks. Not too bad. I didn't run quite as much over as I expected to. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at those cards. I think 1 or 2 of them, that's the first time we've seen them. Certainly the first time we've seen them with readable game text. Keep an eye out on the BritRoller6.com blog. In the next couple of days when I get a free moment, I'll add those to the gallery that we've got on there. If you go to the title bar, you'll see there's a button to go to unreleased set spoilers, and if you head on into there, you'll see all the Dark Phoenix Saga set spoilers that we've had so far, including a few that I've just chucked in there that I was given by Wizkids that I haven't even made a fuss about. So go and see if you can spot which ones I've added that we've not seen before. There's a little game for you. Yeah, thank you so very much for coming along and listening to my intro to the Shi'ar Empire. Please do, I'm not joking, go check out the Dark Phoenix Saga OP kit video I did, because that really gives lots more information around Jean Grey's descent into the Dark Phoenix and the storyline that took place there, and is much more comic book focused, whereas this video has been a lot more card focused. Give me a like and subscribe before you move on. Let me know if there's any other types of feedback or content that you want me to get involved in. But in the meantime, I've been Chris, and I'll catch you on a video, on a podcast, or on a blog post somewhere soon. Oh, and check out one of the videos on the right-hand side if you've not already disappeared to watch the OP kit ones I mentioned. All right, bye-bye, folks.